My name is John Frickensmith, and I'm the president of the Landlord Association here in Racine. The Landlord Association is really about education, trying to teach landlords the right way to do things, the legal way to do things, and the compassionate way to do things. So we have lots of challenges, and that's what our organization is about, education. But tonight we're doing something a little different, and we would like to invite Dennis Monty from the Racine Taxpayers Association to take over from here.
Okay. Thank you, John. Okay, I'm Dennis Monty. I'm the second-term president of the Racine Taxpayers Association, and our organization is about educating people about government actions that affect our taxes, whether it be federal, state, or local level. And we're all impacted by those. So we have monthly meetings, Point Brew House. We have a newsletter that we put out, and we're always looking for new members to help us out. We also have sponsored some candidate forums, and we thank the Racine Landlords Association for hosting this. Pay close attention. Elections have consequences, as we're finding out. So give the candidates your full attention. I'm going to introduce Ken Brown. Ken will be moderating the event tonight. So thanks again for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for having us be part of your event this year. As you might know, Racine Taxpayers Association has done different types of forums over the years. We usually do them over at Gateway, but we thought since you do one anyway, maybe we would try to work ours together. So thank you very much again for including us. Also, thank you to the candidates who were able to come tonight. I did receive apologies from Jeff Coe, who was not able to attend due to a work situation, and Mr. Young, Trevor Young, had a conflict. The other candidates, besides those four that are here, I did not hear any response from, so that is unfortunate. However, we do have Steve Smetana and Jennifer Levy, I'm going to get it right yet, Jennifer Levy, from the same district, which will be interesting. However, this is not a debate, it's a forum, so we'll try to ask the same questions. Speaking of that, I have a handful of questions here, but on your tables you'll find little bits of paper. If you have a question that would not be about any particular candidate, but a particular issue with the city, feel free to fill it out, raise it up in the air, and George will come around and grab it from you, and we'll try to incorporate it into our list of questions. But I have a few here to get us started. First of all, we're going to have everybody just kind of run through, take a minute. We're not going to use a timer thing tonight. We're going to just try to keep everything about a minute-ish. If it gets a little out of hand, George will jump in and we'll start using the timer thing. But just try to keep it around a minute. And we'll start with Susan from the 1st District. I think we'll get you numerically then. How about that?
Wow.
And approximately it's where your district is and why you're running, and whatever you'd like to say in a minute.
Hi, I'm Susan Wagner. I'm running in the 1st District, which is all of downtown and south of downtown. Pretty much the river is mostly the northern border down to about 12th Street and out to almost Racine Street. So I have a really diverse district. Economically, with what types of residences we have, there's a lot of commercial. It's a really interesting urban district. I'm running, lived in Racine here for 15 years. And I just have not been satisfied with the representation we've gotten. We had some issues in my neighborhood that I decided to take on after I wasn't getting any response from my representatives. Found out I really enjoyed it. I have kind of a knack for doing research and getting some results, and I really want to put those resources to work for the people in the 1st District.
I'm Ricky Jarstead. I live in the 3rd Aldermanic District, which is roughly 6th Street to 21st Street, Mount Cemetery to kind of Racine Street by Popeyes. I'm running to bring a voice of transparency, reason, and safety back to the community. Too many secrets in our city government. A lot of complaints about crime, fair housing, and I just want to bring a new, fresh perspective to the City Council. Thank you.
I'm Jennifer Levy. Good evening. Thank you so much for hosting this and for inviting me. I've lived in the district for 13 years. I'm a homeowner with my husband. My son Alvin is a senior at Horlick High School. He went all the way through his schooling through RUSD. I myself I'm a teacher as well for Mitchell Elementary. I've been in the district for 13 years. My husband is also a teacher at Horlick. He's been a teacher for 19 years in the district. And we love Racine. This has been a wonderful community to raise our son. I live at 421 William Street, so just 2 blocks from the lake, which is ideal. Lake Michigan is the jewel of this community, along with the tremendous diversity of our community. And I'm running because, one, I've been a public servant for a long time as a public school teacher. I love working with people. I loved working with people and figuring out how to solve problems collaboratively and creatively. That's what I do in my classroom every day. That's what I do with my coworkers and administrators, solving problems where we can get the job done. At the school level, it's ensuring that my students have the best education possible. As alderperson, I am committed to having regular listening sessions so that I can hear directly from constituents on a regular basis. So for example, in January, I had a listening session at Cesar Chavez Center, January 24th, and there was about 40 people that attended. And I got a chance to hear from folks what their concerns are, as well as what's their vision for how to move our community forward. And so if I'm elected, that's what I'm committed to, is having ongoing communication with constituents, and also to let them know what's happening at City Hall, because I too believe in transparency. Our democracy is as strong as how educated our constituents are. They need to be educated on what's happening in the city government, because it positively impacts all of our lives. So that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Steve.
I'm Alderman Steve Smetana. I've been an alderman for 4 years now. I was elected in 2015. I'm a lifelong resident of Racine. I'm an alderman for the 5th district, which is Melvin to English, over to Douglas, square up, down to Melvin. I do this job because I love it. It's not anything to do with anything else. I love dealing with people and helping solve their problems. You know, it's just, like I've told people, if you don't have that fire in your belly to do this job, you're not going to do it right. You're not going to do this. And you can just sit back and you can agree with council does all the time, or you can be that other voice and say, no, I don't agree with it, which quite a few times I do. So I want to be the voice of the people and continue to be the voice of the people of the 5th district and the people of Racine.
Thank you. In a minute, let's see what you got to say about that, Jennifer, please. About your district.
Oh, about my district and how it relates to
just whatever you think on your district, dealing with the issues that are most important to that overall group of people.
Sure. So. Yes. So as I've been knocking on doors, I've been hearing from folks about the need for more lighting on the streets. There's a big issue about not having adequate lighting. And that ties in with feeling safe within our neighborhoods. There's been mention about some petty crime of people rifling through people's cars, not breaking windows, thankfully, but there's been a recent rash of cars being rifled through, and so there's concern around people coming into our neighborhoods that way, and also potholes, particularly in our alleys, but also streets. Making sure that our streets are safe and that they are drivable, so that we are not ruining our vehicles. And so those are some of the things that I continually hear over and over again as I'm knocking on doors. And so folks want to know, how city government can help with that.
Steve. Same question, kind of just your general. We'll kind of do this micro, and then the rest of the questions we'll kind of do macro, because you all will represent the rest of the city.
Sure.
So micro to the 5th district, sir.
Well, my district it's all different. I have business owners, I have residents, and they all have the same concern. It's transparency in this city. They want people to be truthful when it comes to reacting on council. They want people to stand up and say what's wrong. And they want people to be truthful, honest, and transparent. And that's basically what they want. With the roads, they know it's the long winter. They know that roads will be repaired in the spring. Potholes will be repaired. I have through these past 4 years being on council, I've got to know the department heads really well, and I have a good relationship with them. So, if at any time the people of the 5th District need anything, I can just give them a call, the heads of the departments, and they're pretty good at reacting with the problem and taking care of it.
Thank you, sir. And Sue, you've got you're downtown, so you've probably got the most bars and restaurants of any aldermanic district around. There's going to be some late night issues where you're the alderwoman and you're going to get the call at 2 in the morning, so there's a problem with this, that, and the other thing. Much more likely than any of the other 14 alder folks. How do you propose to deal with that and all of the different things from, again, income differential from the upscale shore to the far edge where it's mostly rental properties that many of these folks own and operate?
I've heard a lot about the issues with the residents of downtown versus the commercial areas of downtown, and that is a delicate balance. It's one of the things I like best about our district is that it has this urban grit and it has the combination of both. But I do think that we need to be more careful as to where we are licensing certain types of businesses, that we appreciate that there are residents who are paying high property taxes. And we have to balance those things. We can't have the wrong businesses in the wrong locations that are disruptive to the residents. We just need to be more sensitive and more aware of those things, work more with the police department to make sure that those complaints are being addressed. Crime is another big issue, particularly in the lower income areas in my district. That's why I've been involved as the chair of our Neighborhood Watch organization for several years. I've worked with Chief Howell to address some of those issues before, and I want to continue that partnership. I think that it's really important for him to hear the feedback from the residents of the district so that he knows what our concerns really are. I would also like to see the city work towards some sort of a discount program on the outdoor security cameras for people in the district. There's a really nice network that's set up with the police department so they can access cameras if you give them that access, and I would like to see more of those put into my district. We do have some really unfortunate criminal activity, and I'd like to see that addressed. And then landlording is a big issue in my district. I really respect the fact that you belong to a landlord organization. I think that's great that you look at this as your profession and you take it seriously. There are, as you know, landlords who don't, and many of them are in my district. And so we have rental properties that are falling down where they're not reinvesting their money into improving their product. And we've got tenants who are paying good money to live in those. And I think that that's something that needs to be addressed. And I think that I can help do that if I'm put on the council.
Thank you very much. Jen, to you, well, I got actually one that I think you'd be great to start with your RUSD background. Well, it should be known that the aldermen are not responsible for what happens in the Racine Unified System. There is some level of effect and affect of having the school district and the city, and sometimes that's one of the things that keeps people from coming to our community is how they review that. So the question that was offered by the audience here was, what do you think about the performance grade given by the state of Wisconsin to RUSD, and how would you propose change to RUSD that the city aldermen and the city could affect? What do you think?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good
I'm going to give you a little
question.
extra time to deal with that because you've got
okay.
experience on it and you're taking it first.
Wow. Well, I think one is the city continuing to tackle poverty and bringing in family-sustaining jobs. So many of our children in RUSD are living at or below poverty. And that's a serious issue that negatively impacts student outcomes. When children are coming to school hungry, when children are couch surfing from place to place, not having a stable home because their mom or dad can't find affordable housing, that negatively impacts how kids can focus in the classroom. So if us as a city can continue to tackle poverty, that's number one. And I think we can do that. There's this upswing of potential investment and with potential of Foxconn coming in, that we can have more family supporting jobs. And that would definitely bode well in moving our kids forward.
Thank you. I'll just let each of you take a stab at that question as far as RUSD and the synergy with the alderman and the city. Have any thoughts on that?
I agree. I mean, we need to sustain the relationship with our USD, the city, and you need to work together to make it work. You know, if you don't work together, it's not gonna, you won't accomplish anything. With what Jen said, poverty, that's a big thing. You need to work on that. That's about it.
Thank you. Sue, thoughts?
Okay,
Susan, excuse me.
I would agree that the stability of our students is something that needs to be addressed. I was appalled when I saw what the grades were when those came out for RUSD. I think that one of the things that needs to be addressed by the school board is figuring out how kids learn and what kids need to learn. Standardized tests, I think, are unfair. Not everyone is meant for a four-year degree for continuing education, and that's the level on which our kids are still being judged and are still being taught. Racine has long been a labor kind of town, and I think we need to increase vocational training, we need to increase practical education in high schools and even earlier, so that these kids have marketable skills when they get out of school at 18. Not everyone is meant for a four-year degree. We need to stop teaching them as though they are.
Thank you. And Ricky, sir.
I agree with a lot of what Susan said. Not every child learns the same. Some children are hands-on, other children aren't. And I think that education should be based on the needs of the student as opposed to handing them a textbook and just everybody has to read this textbook. I think more hands-on. The failing grade isn't good for the Racine Unified School District. My mom's actually an employee there. I agree that poverty is one of the reasons why a lot of students are having a hard time getting proper education. I would support training, vocational training, and other services to just help out the district. You know, they need fresh new ideas and a new perspective, but sadly the city really doesn't have much to do with Unified. It's Unified as its own entity as opposed to the city government. So,
okay, thank you. And this question will go to you first, Steve.
Yeah.
With all of the new investment, this is a question actually I've been wanting to go to City Hall on open mic night and offer my thoughts on, so I actually added this question myself. With all of the new investment that is coming from Foxconn and all of the other companies that are going to be built up around it, all of the property values that are going to be increasing for all of these folks and all the people that own private homes within our community, we should actually see an increase in the amount of tax dollars coming in without actually having to raise taxes per se. Would you promise or consider freezing spending at its existing level and focus those extra dollars on debt reduction so we can get our budget and our long-term responsibilities addressed?
Absolutely. I think that's something that we in the city need to concentrate on. And that's that long-term debt. That needs to go away. We need to start working at it, picking at it, instead of always borrowing and spending, or, you know, we're doing way too much of that right now, and we need to concentrate on paying up what we have instead of borrowing and continuing to build that debt more and more. We can't sustain it.
Thank you. And Susan.
It's a ridiculous premise that we keep borrowing money and going into debt in order to sustain our regular budget. Property taxes are not just this open checkbook for the city to keep coming to and getting more money and more money and more money. And then when there's not enough money, we're just going to keep borrowing. It's like living on credit cards. It's financially irresponsible and it's not sustainable. So I absolutely am in favor of, regardless of what tactics, but fairly drastic tactics. I don't get to finance, you know, my home, my life, by borrowing money. The city shouldn't be doing that either. We need to be committed to reducing that debt.
Thank you very much. And Ricky, what are your thoughts?
According to the City of Racine 2017 audited financial report, the City of Racine parking utility was at a loss of $538,000. Legal fees for 2018 and 2019 were $3 million. If the city wants to get its financial house in order, we have to start cutting and capping. Another thing is unfunded liabilities. Unfunded liabilities in the City of Racine amount to $503 million. Just to put that in perspective, each person in Kenosha owes $619 per debt. In Racine, it's $6,485. So I agree with cutting, but not cutting services to citizens. I think that services to citizens should come first, and then paying off debt. But I agree with paying off debt. We shouldn't be living on a credit card. It's not fair. It's not fair to the future generations.
I had no idea you were that prepared for that question, Ricky. Awesome. Jennifer.
Yes. You know, having a balanced budget is always important. It's important in a household. It's important for our government. It's important for businesses. And we all need and deserve quality services. The services that the city provides benefits everyone. And so in order for us to have quality services, we need to have workers who are paid a decent wage, who have decent benefits, so they want to stay in our community. And so it's certainly a juggling act, and we need to figure out how to maintain quality services and have workers that want to stay and provide these services. So I don't know that it would make sense for us to, if we're getting an increase in taxes because of Foxconn coming in and all these other developments coming in, that we would create an austerity plan for our city, because I don't think that would benefit our citizens. I think that we need to look at creative ways and figure out how can we bring more money into our city so that we can continue to provide quality services that benefit everyone.
All right, thank you everyone for your responses on my question that I threw in there. Thank you. The next one, it kind of relates to that. Now we'll start with Susan on this one. What would you do to improve the business environment in the city of Racine?
That's a great question.
Somebody out there answer.
That's a great question, whoever asked it. I really am in favor of entrepreneurial business endeavors. I want to do everything we can for the small businessman. I want to really relax the conditional use zoning that we have. I think is ridiculous. I would like people to be able to open businesses in their homes. There's all kinds of reasons why people can't, or it's inconvenient for people to go to an employer to work. And if we open up those opportunities for people to open businesses in residential districts without having to go through the hoops of the conditional use, it helps them take care of childcare issues, transportation issues, elder care issues. It gives them an opportunity to create something new. Racine is known for creating something new. We've had how many countless international products that were invented here, and we are now stifling that creativity by limiting where people can do business and how they can do business. So I think we need to just fling open the doors on the entrepreneurial businessman and let people try whatever it is that they want to support their family. It is not the city's job to tell people how they need to work to bring in an income to support their households.
And Ricky.
Racine was founded on the backs of small businesses. I mean, Racine was an industrial town throughout its history. I think cutting a lot of unnecessary regulations and red tape, a lot of zoning regulations, it's crazy the amount of zoning regulations. But I think we need to be more welcoming to businesses. And I was told a story years ago by a former alderman that this lady wanted to open a restaurant, and the people at City Hall were asking the lady what kind of curtains she was having. That's a little overstepping boundaries when it comes to control. I think we need to scale back a lot of this regulation to allow businesses to open and succeed. I mean, why stop entrepreneurs? I mean, they could be our future in our city as they were in our past.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Yes, I think small business owners are an integral part of our community. My next door neighbor 2 houses down, Nick Fata, is a small business owner. He owns adult residential facilities right in District 5. And I've had conversations with him about how it's so challenging to find workers that can come in and do that important work. And so to his point of needing workers that can do the jobs that are open right now, I think a great thing that's happening with Gateway is training folks who want to better themselves and get the skills they need to get these good paid jobs. I'm hearing from people from around the community how there are jobs open, but there's not the workers to fill it. So I think it's important for the city to continue to find ways to connect workers with those businesses so that so everyone can benefit. So training is an important part of that, I think.
Thank you. Steve?
Well, I think we should honestly relax on our regulations with what we have with the small businesses. It's we have too many. We make it pretty hard for them, and we need to just kind of, I think we ought, I say this quite a bit, but we need to start welcoming people into the city. And I truly believe that. Welcoming people in who want to bring a business in instead of always standing in their way. So that's what I think.
Thank you, Steve. We're just about halfway through, just to give you an idea where we're at. Interesting question. About 80% of the trash across the country is picked up by private companies and not by city-owned operations. So the question we're asked here is, why doesn't the city consider hiring an outside trash service to handle our trash situation? Let's start with you, Rick.
Oh, sorry.
I think, am I correct? I'm right. Yeah. Susan, I'm right.
That's something to consider. I mean, privatizing some things, like I wouldn't privatize a zoo or anything, but I'd consider it. I would have to look at the numbers and really research the subject before I make a decision on it. But it could be something. I mean, you could save money. I would really have to research it.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I, by and large, am against privatizing public works of any kind. I think if you really look at research, when city and county and state governmental agencies that provide important services for our residents, both at city level and state, county and state, that when services are privatized, the quality goes down, and over time, costs can go up. And so I am not in favor of privatizing our garbage collection.
And I know, Alderman Smetana, you've actually had to deal with this issue on a couple of topics that have come up. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that I think the Public Works right now, I believe they do a great job for what they have, for the people that they have. They do a wonderful job. I don't, it would have to, you'd have to look at it as a whole picture. Right now, I'm not for privatizing, no. I think it would just, you would eliminate jobs here in the city. These people have been with the city for years. I truly believe they do a great job. Right now, I don't believe it would make sense.
Thank you, sir. Susan, your thoughts?
Okay, I'm going to be the renegade here. No criticism to our public works. I think that our trash collection does a pretty good job, but I am largely in favor of privatizing most public works. I think that you create a competitive edge. Historically, in the city of New Berlin, where they have private garbage collection, they were able to reduce costs because you had companies who were competing, and they were able to improve services. So I would disagree with Jennifer's assessment that you start losing quality of service. I find that you improve it because you have people who are looking to have contracts renegotiated and to continue to win them. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that the city of Racine should pursue that, but I think that it should always be an option. The idea of legacy employees and we don't want to lay off city employees, that's ridiculous to me. If we can get a job done better for less money to the taxpayers and continue to employ a similar number of people just by a different private employer, it makes no sense to me that that would stay as a city service.
All right. One of the big things that aldermen and city people do is they take care of the police, they take care of the fire, and they take care of the trash. One of the things we did several years ago is we had this mandatory recycling that we put into place, as many municipalities across the country and around the world have done. As it turns out, the recycling market in China, which is where most of the stuff went to, has completely dried up. They don't have any more demand. The stuff that we're recycling and we're taking all this time to rinse and put in different pots is going into the same landfill right next to our other stuff, just like it did 20 years ago. Considering the recycling market has dried up, should we put our recycling services on hold until such time as there's an actual cash demand for those products? To you, Jennifer.
No, I would not support putting a hold on recycling. Look, this is 2019 as we know, and we have to be forward thinking as it comes to recycling. If we put it on hold and then, in a couple of years something else happens, people are out of that practice of recycling. We have to find an innovative way of dealing with our trash. They've been able to figure it out in different parts of Europe. I've traveled in different countries in Europe. They've figured it out. Canada, to a large extent, I've traveled around Canada. They have figured out how to deal with recycling so that we are not leaving a greater mess to our children and their grandchildren. So I would be opposed to putting recycling on hold. We need to figure something out with that.
Thank you. Steve.
People are already recycling. I know my family has got to the point where we're recycling all the time. It would be hard to suspend it and then go back to it. I would say to reduce the recycling fee, if anything, and move from there. But recycling itself, we need to start looking at other ways how we can recycle it instead of trying to sell it all. And maybe we can have a company come in and start recycling themselves, chop it up themselves. We need to start thinking of other ideas, and then we can move forward with that recycling. But right now, I would not be opposed to lowering that recycling fee at all.
If only we could fill our potholes with it. Susan.
I don't think that we should be suspending our recycling. It creates a greater awareness of environmental concerns as a whole. If we're reminded every day in our households about recycling, it furthers the conversation about environmental awareness. I do think it would be worthwhile to investigate subsidizing manufacturers who use recyclable materials. We have a lot of manufacturing here in the Racine area. So I would like to see that be an avenue that's explored. But no, I don't think that you can, while it may seem like a waste to rinse out your tin cans right now knowing that they're not being recycled, it still does further the conversation about things like plastic straws and other environmental concerns that are not necessarily recycling based, but create that awareness of how we treat our planet.
I would not be in favor of ending recycling. There's that Pacific, plastic, the size of Texas. I mean, we have to recycle. I mean, we'll figure it out. It's the 21st century. We can figure it out how to do it in our country, like Mr. Sputana said. I recycle. All my family recycles. I mean, it's become so easy for us now, and because it's always there, we have our recycle bins. But I would be in favor of cutting the recycling fee. I don't see that as a viable option.
All right, and I think I'm on Steve now for this question. What would you do to solve the city's city transportation problem, both short-term and long-term, not just public transportation, but other ways of improving access to, for instance, the heart of our community? Steve.
I would honestly try to bring in more Uber drivers. You know,
I was actually fishing for that. I'm an Uber driver.
yes. You know, I guess we can't, you know, you could say we can bring in more buses, we can do that, but that wouldn't make fiscal sense. We can't, you know, continue to buy these big buses that are only loaded with 4 or 5 people in it. We as a community, if we are going to have this transportation, I guess we need to start using it. You know, I see buses all the time traveling, and they got 2, 3 people on it. You know, if anything, bring it down to a smaller bus, and we can maybe have more of them to circulate around the city. But these big buses that we only have 3, 4 people on it, you know, that doesn't
I'll
work.
sneak a little tease in here for a moment. There is actually some cities across the country that are starting to offer little stipends towards using Uber and Lyft type services. Would you consider researching that?
Absolutely.
Seeing how it works for our city?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Susan?
This is where it's interesting to me where you see the fundamental differences in our districts. And again, because my district is very different from the 5th district. I'm in favor of expanding the bus services and expanding private Uber and Lyft drivers. Part of the problem is, in my opinion, there's not a lot of transportation out to the good employers, you know, that are further west of Highway H, out to the I, and we have no way of connecting. There is no public transportation that connects there, so we can't get employees there. Cree, for example, which is now not Cree anymore, but they have a really great starting wage, and they treat their employees pretty well, but they are 3 shifts, and there's a bus that goes every now and then out there. I think we need to expand those services because a lot of people can't afford second cars or even first cars. You know, you live in the downtown area, there's no reason to have a car. We need to make the city more transportation friendly with public transportation and some private transportation. I would also like to see there be more connecting from Milwaukee down through Kenosha. With, you know, the extension of 794 was supposed to come through Racine at one point. I think we need to investigate that as well.
Ricky?
I'm in favor of expanding Lyft and Uber. I rode in Uber in California. It was cool. I'm in favor of expanding the railroad that was supposed to come from Chicago up to Milwaukee. I would be in favor of that. I mean, it would bring a lot of people to the community. I would also bring back, years ago I think the bus service was outsourced down south somewhere, the main hub of it. I would bring it back. I don't know what an outside entity would know about Racine to plan our bus routes. I mean, routes. Be in favor of that, like Mrs. Wagner said. Yeah, so a little nervous, but.
Mrs. Levy?
Yeah, I would not be in favor of cutting transportation for our residents. As Ms. Wagner said, you know, there's a lot of folks in our community that need to get out to Sturt event and other jobs out by the I, and so we need to be able to get our residents out to those good paying jobs, and so I would not be in favor of cutting transportation costs.
Real quick follow-up on that, just a yes or no. 794, as Susan referred to, was originally supposed to go down and connect with what's called the Amstutz Highway, which is about a 3-mile long little section of freeway down by Great Lakes Academy, and that was the other end of 794. There's been a lot of talk over the years of it bringing it right through, deciding which path it should go. One of those suggestions is to run it right down Memorial Drive. It would put everybody in the city of Racine within 5 minutes of a freeway entrance, either 94 or 794, to get to Milwaukee, to get to Chicago. Would you be in favor of pushing forward with that idea, Steve? You want to take 15 seconds?
15 seconds?
Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
Sure, yeah. Okay. Thoughts?
Absolutely, that's why I mentioned it.
You did. Ricky? Jen?
You know, at this point, I would need to have more information, but on paper, it sounds good because I have so many people in my district that, you know, and friends and myself included, where, you know, it takes 20 minutes or more to get to I-94, and if we could have an opportunity to get to Milwaukee or Chicago in a faster manner, that makes sense to me on paper, but I definitely need to do more some research on that.
This question is going to go to you, Susan. Our entire city is based on, most of our income is based on the value of the property that we tax. Our most valuable properties that we can tax are actually on Lake Michigan. However, half of the properties on Lake Michigan are things like the YMCA, which now is going to be turned into a private project, and we'll actually get money out of it instead of paying money into it every year. The public library is on Lake Michigan. Great place to go if you want to look down at your book and not look at the Lake Michigan. We have the zoo, extremely valuable property that could be moved to another location, since none of the animals where it is currently can actually see Lake Michigan. The only place you can see is at the band shell. What would you think about taking some of those projects and moving them to areas that are, say, not on Lake Michigan, and create a future where we can have taxable income from those properties, where we could actually put the most valuable properties for the future? Susan.
Okay, first of all, you don't know that the giraffes cannot enjoy the lake.
The giraffes. I'll give you the giraffes.
And they could be enjoying the lake. I understand the concept of it, and in theory, I think it's a great idea. I agree with you. I have lived in Milwaukee for several years on the lakefront, and all of the property on Milwaukee's lakefront is taken up by high-rises and very high-rent properties. And so moving to Racine 15 years ago, it was kind of a wonder that there were all these city businesses or public entities that are on the lakefront. I like that the lakefront is attainable for most people. If you want to enjoy the lakefront, you can absolutely go down and enjoy it. There's a lot of public areas that you can be at. I would agree, however, that some of that land is wasted. Wasted is the wrong word, but it's not necessary for the services that are on it right now. Certainly our zoo, which is sort of a failing entity to begin with and could use an overhaul, that would be an area that I'd like to see maybe moved to a better district, maybe run by people who are maybe better qualified to do that, and yes, put some development up in that area. What I don't want to see happen, and what I worry is going to be happening, is right now we have all of these residents who live on like Michigan Avenue who have these beautiful views of the lake, and we're building these giant developments that are going to take away from these people who for all these years have been paying inflated property taxes because they've had lake views, and they're going to lose all of that to people who are going to spend multi-million dollars on condos and apartments. And I would like to see more fair market housing go up, and I want to see the lake be able to be enjoyed by more people as best we can.
Thank you. Ricky.
I would have to research that a little more, but I know that Racine has the highest municipal property tax rate in the state of Wisconsin, which is more than double the median tax rate. Between 2012 and 2018, the annual city of Racine property taxes on a home valued at $100,000 increased from $1,290 to $1,885. So I would have to research whether we move things. I would have to research moving the zoo. That would be a good, it could be a good option. But I agree that we need to do some things about our property taxes, like putting in place circuit breakers, which cap the tax for residents in the lower tax brackets. So just a few reforms. That's my thing, is reforming the system, making it easier, better, more honest, and transparent. So I would definitely research it.
Jennifer.
I personally love that our public library is right on the lake for everyone to enjoy. Same with the zoo and North Beach. You know, I live 6 blocks from North Beach and 2 blocks right from Lake Michigan. We have a beautiful public bike path that travels along behind the zoo that my family and I enjoy, and many folks in our community enjoy. So I would be opposed to having large developments coming onto the lake and limiting access for all of our residents. You know, Lake Michigan, as I mentioned at the beginning, is really our crown jewel of our community, and I think everyone as a resident should have access to enjoying our beautiful lake. So I would be opposed to any idea of moving the library or the zoo.
Thank you. Steve? Tough question since that's your district too.
Pardon me?
With the zoo
Yes,
being in your
it
district,
is.
tough question, I'm sorry.
Well, I gotta tell you that I'm opposed to that. I think we should be looking at the blighted properties that we have and work on them instead of looking at like the zoo. The zoo is not a failing. It's not failing at all. It's a prospering. It's actually has thousands of people coming because of the location where it's at. Because of everything that the new zoo board, the new zoo director, executive director is doing. It's an amazing place. If any of you haven't been there, please do it because it's a jewel of this city. Everybody takes it for granted. Just walk through it. It really is nice. It's part of that. It's part of Racine. You know? It's just something that everybody should go through. And with all these other pieces of land that you're talking about, you know, the library and the YMCA and stuff, they're already redoing the YMCA. The library, maybe someday they'll redo that too and move that. But right now, no.
All right, thank you all for your answers on that. Another one that I like, I think of mine, Ricky now, thank you very much. Just took my time here. Actually, we'll just do kind of a wrap up here. Why don't you tell me what, give a minute and a half of why you're running, or kind of a wrap up summary.
I'm running because I want to see the city succeed and thrive. I've lived in and around Racine all my life. My previous landlords are here. I want to see the city thrive. I have a lot of friends and family here. I have family coming from out of town, and I want to show them the best Racine that we could be. I want to show them the zoo and the library. The library is a beautiful library, I got to say. I'm running because I want to bring openness. I want to stop the runaway debt and taxation. I want to stop the misplaced priorities, crime, a crumbling infrastructure, and racial disparities, which is a big thing in my district. I'm just running because I care. I'm taking the opportunity to come out here and present myself and my ideas and a fresh face, and because I care. And I thank you guys for caring too. That's why you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
I'm running because I want to be a voice for the residents of the 5th District. I want to organize residents on issues that they care about and figure out really strong, creative solutions to problems that are happening in our community, in our district, and the city as a whole. I want to be an advocate for residents to help them navigate city government. Sometimes that can be confusing, and so I want to be an advocate for residents to make sure that they understand and can get the services they need and deserve as Racine residents. And I also want to educate residents in 5th District. There's so many things about city government that people don't know or understand, and so I want to educate them on all the great things that the city of Racine provides our residents on a daily basis. And also I want residents to educate me on what their issues are and how we can come together as a community to move our community forward. So that's why I'm running.
Steve?
I'm running because I love this job. I love communicating with the people of the 5th District. I love being their voice. I love do everything about this job. Anywhere from taking the phone calls to calling people, and they call me, and I do call everyone. Whenever anybody calls me, I give them a call back, quick call back. I love dealing with everybody, and I just hope I can continue to be the alderman of the 5th District.
Thank you. Susan?
Thank you. I'm running, I want to be an independent voice for the 1st District. I don't want to represent any special interest groups. I want to represent the people. I think it's been a while since that's happened in the 1st District. and it's time that the people's voice gets heard. I'm committed to transparency in government. People don't know what's going on. Things are being hidden. Things are being done in secret. Money's being wasted. And I think that's really unfortunate. It's been very educational as I'm out knocking on doors and telling people what's happening, and they have no idea because they just don't have access to that information. And it's time that our government stands up and behaves ethically and is responsive and open to revealing what they're doing. People need to have access to that information. That needs to happen. I'm committed to creating more opportunities for fair and balanced housing in my district. I think that that's a really important issue, and I'm committed to working with the police department to reduce crime. I really like helping people. It's been a calling of mine for quite some time. It's part of, again, why I work on Neighborhood Watch. I really enjoy helping the people of my district, and the more I get to know them, the more I know that I can help them with some creative solutions. I can advocate on their behalf, I can keep them well informed, and I think we can make the First District more prosperous.
Thank you very much. I neglected to thank Talking Racine, who's here tonight, recording this. I believe that'll be up on Facebook. You can all link to this to your own campaign websites if you wish to. I'm sure they'll be happy to have that shared. I'd also like to thank the Journal-Times for sending a reporter over this evening. Thank you very much. Christine, I believe, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Once again, on behalf of the Southern Wisconsin Landlords Association, Racine Taxpayers Association, we appreciate you coming out tonight, all of you. And it was, I gotta say, for the four of you, this was just the greatest balance that I've had of knowledgeable, informed people, sometimes on the same side, sometimes on different sides. I really enjoyed listening to all of you, your commentary tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ricky, for coming. Appreciate it very much. Jennifer, thank you for coming.
Pleasure. Thanks.
If you have any questions or anything else you want to address specifically, I'll be around.